Hey everyone, welcome to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Ranking video. Last time we did Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon, the very first set in the TCG, and this time we're moving on to the second set in the TCG, known as Metal Raiders. So, fun fact about Metal Raiders, it actually has even more cards than Legend of Blue Eyes. Yeah, if you thought 126 was a lot for a set, which it actually is, 144 is the exact number of Metal Raiders, so it has almost 20 more cards than Legend of Blue Eyes. So as before, we're going to be ranking all these different cards by the different tiers from S all the way down to E. As a quick reminder, it's mostly about, at the time, but also, if it developed into some greater historical significance later on, then you know what? It might get a little bump up here or there. So it's a combination of a couple things. So let's go ahead and begin. We're going to start with Protector of the Throne. So by this point, it's important to know that Starter Deck Yugi and Starter Deck Kaiba have already been released. There are already some, high beatdown monsters that are not going to be in this set, but cards like Lajin, the Mystical Genie of the Lamp, and Neo the Magic Swordsman, and Battleox are 1800, 1700, and 1700 respectively. But none of those cards are in the set, but it's important to compare that to, the set here, that way we can see how good these cards are relative to what's already been released by this time. Protector of the Throne is a garbage vanilla, I mean, that's all I can say, right? Low stats, it's not even those 2000 defense monsters, even though those have already lost a little bit of their usefulness. But yeah, Mass Sorcerer. Mass Sorcerer, some people really praise this card and say, oh my gosh, you have to draw a card every time you inflict battle damage. Its stats are so low that even if you do, the majority of the time what's going to happen is you draw a card and then it dies next turn. It just trades itself in. In those cases, it's not really going plus, it's going neutral just within 2 turns instead of 1. Most people would put it somewhere in the middle. I personally never thought that the card was actually good. I'm going to go with D, but one thing I should say with these videos, feel free to disagree, obviously. Leave comments and, tell me how much I suck at this, or tell me how much I'm how good I am at this. I don't know, I enjoy seeing comments. Leo Gun is a 1750 attacker, 5-star monster. Enough said. Cannon Soldier. This card, I don't know, people still speculate that it's going to be forbidden one day. It has been forbidden in the OCG, but not in this, not in the TCG. I think it's honestly as high as A. It can be because historically it's seen so many different potential OTKs of just, doing loops and tributing and all this stuff, and a lot of the time Konami hits the other cards and not Cannon Soldier. They banned Mass Driver, just not Cannon Soldier, which is kind of weird, but I'm going to put Cannon Soldier there. I think it's either there or B, somewhere around there. Kajikosi, whatever you want to call this guy. He's gonna be E. By this point, 1500 attackers, even though Urabi was up to I think B tier in Legend of Blue Eyes. Same attack as Urabi, but it's Metal Raiders now, people. You can't just put a 1500 attacker up here. That's not how that works. 1500 is garbage by this point because there's 1800 and 1700 attackers out there. Black Skull Dragon. Iconic card, but oh my god, was it not good. It's not a target for instant fusion or magical scientist, so it can't be used, effectively and competitively in that way. I hate to do this, but it's either here or here, but if I'm doing this, I'm being blinded by the iconic, presence in the anime and stuff, and I don't want to do that. Honestly, it goes beyond here. It was never seen like that. Even like Cyberstein, cards like that, it never used this. They brought out cards like Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon and, other crazy cards, like Cyber Twin Dragon and so on, not a Black Skull Dragon. I'm going to put it down there. Harpy Lady Sisters, it's a card that cannot be normal summoned or set. 1950 attack, 2100 defense. Elegant Egotist is cool, but Harpy Lady Sisters is basically a dead card in your hand. It historically was never good. Harpy Lady decks eventually were good, but not because of Sisters. Legul, 350 attacker, I can attack directly. These cards were kind of cool, but they also were just bad. They didn't see any significant play, unfortunately. Dream Clown's a little different. Clown Control was a deck back then. It wasn't meta relevant, but it was pretty good in some ways depending on who you fought. I think the Clowns are overall going to be solid in the middle because they did see some viability in some way. So, yeah. Steel Scorpion, on the other hand, that's terrible stats, and if it gets destroyed, the opponent's monster gets destroyed after the 3rd standby phase or something. the monster should be gone by then. Let's just say that, okay? Great Moth, 2600 attacker, but you gotta wait 4 turns with Petite Moth and Cocoon of Evolution. Are you kidding me, Konami? No, that's an E. Jellyfish, 1200 attack, 1500 defense. White Magical Hat is interesting. Eventually got power cut by Don Zalug, of course, and X-Saber Airbellum later on. But this was the first random discard card thing, you know, that like it attacked directly and inflicted battle damage. So I would say somewhere there. It actually, you know what? In the very early Yada Locks before Don Zalug, I guess you can say it went up to here, but that's stretching. I'm gonna go with that though. Okay, now we're moving on to these level 6 monsters. Normally they'd be really bad down here, but these things were actually part of the OTK/FTK loops. Or just FTK decks, I don't know why I said loops. FTK decks for Magical Scientists. They were pretty damn relevant, some a little more than others. The 2100 attackers specifically were the 6 stars that had the most play with Magical Scientists, so specifically the 2100s are going to be a little bit higher than the others. Armored Lizard is 1500. Vanilla, no. Big Eye, 1200. When it gets flipped, you get to rearrange the top 5 cards in your deck. It was never, yeah, let's just say it was never, you know, used. Dome with Angel of Silence, 1600 attacker, 5-star monster. Even worse than some of these other garbage vanillas here. Lady of Faith, another terrible card, you know, unfortunately. Battle Steer, 1800, better than Doma, but not good enough for D tier. Roaring Ocean Snake, another 2100 fusion monster, definitely saw lots of play alongside Impressed Judge and Punished Eagle, which we'll get to in a little bit, so I'll put that there. Heavy Storm is deserving of an S tier. Historically, this card has been tremendously powerful. So many different things you can do with it and just wipe out your opponent. It's just, oh my gosh, it really destroys the crap out of your opponent. Armored Zombie, 1500 attacker, right? Lava Battle Guard, 1550 attacker tribute monster. Ring of Magnetism decreases the attack of your monster by 500, or attack and defense by 500, but monsters can only attack that target. No. Hyosub, another 1500 attacker. Pale Beast, another 1500 attacker. Rainbow Flower, just like Lego, it can attack directly, but really low stats. Dark Elf, I'll bump this one up to D. It did see a little bit of play, granted a very little bit amount of play, but 2000 attack monster. You didn't really have to attack with it, if, you know, that downside, just summon it and leave it there, you know, it's a 2000 wall. Mega Thunderball, no. 750 attack, vanilla. 7-colored fish is interesting because it's on par with Lajin. And Lajin was really, really freaking good. This could be as high as A tier, I would say. If Skull Bird got A tier in Legend of Blue Eyes, this card deserves A tier here because it's an 1800 attacker. Ryukishin powered. The thing with Ryukishin is that 1600 was the, you know, obviously there were 1800s and then 1700s, and then you occasionally saw some 1600 attackers for beatdown decks because not everybody had 3 copies of Lajin, 3 7-colored fish, 3 Neo, and 3 Battle Locks, you know? Numbers varied, so sometimes you had to resort to 1600. For that reason, I will gladly put 1600 attackers in D tier, and just say that they saw very little use. Very little, emphasis on the very little. Germ Infection, I suppose it's not the worst equipped card ever. There are worse ones, but it was never good. I would say it's D tier. It was one of the very slow ways to, you know, get rid of an opponent's monster. Very slow removal. Water Emotics, and yes, I am using the uncensored artwork, as you can see. But even with that, you still deserve E tier. Sorry, Water Emotics. Skull Knight. Well, high stats, but if I'm putting Black Skull here, I have to put Skull Knight here. 2650 attacker, but, I mean, it never saw any competitive play. Little Swordsman Vial, that one also didn't really see play. So I'm going to go ahead and just put you right there, sure. Bakuri Box is not a level 6, it's actually level 7, wait, 7 or 8? 1, 2, 3. Oh my god, the stars are so low. I think it might be 8. I don't even, regardless, it's not a 6, okay? It's not a 6 or lower, it's coming down here. Gate Guardian, as iconic as this card is and was a secret rare, my god was it awful. Awful. Have 3 specific 2 tribute monsters each face up on your field to then bring it out. Wow. Block Attack. Block Attack was one way to remove opponent's monsters if you didn't have Fissure or, you know, the busted cards at the time like Dark Hole and Raigeki. So it was okay in some ways, some very, you know, small circumstances. So you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Senga the Thunder. I guess this one's a little bit better than Suijin and Kazejin because it does have 100 more attack. I'll put it at D tier because of its effect only, but still, you weren't really seeing this card have play. Sangan the Witch. Now, one thing I haven't really mentioned has been Errata's. It's a little interesting, but because see, with the Errata, it's going to be much lower. I'm going to just go with pre-Errata at the time, okay? Pre-Errata, this and Witch were freaking busted. Like, every single deck had to run these cards. If you had these cards and didn't run them, I don't know what was wrong with you, seriously. So when Witch comes out, you already know where it's going to be. Bladefly, okay, these stat boosters and everything, they had small niche play in their particular decks, especially when Spell Ruler came out and those field spells came out that granted, 500 attack to each of the attributes. They were kind of interesting because that combined with this would give a 1000 attack bonus to your particular elemental attribute if you ran an attribute themed deck. So I'm not going to put them in E because they did see a small niche amount of play. I'm going to put them at D tier. Illusionist Faceless Mage, 2200 at defense, but it's a tribute monster, not worth it. Deep Sea Shark, it's a 5-star. It saw some instant fusion and magical scientists use more so. I don't know, I mean, well, I was going to say less than these, but it's not worthy of E because it had decent stats for level 5 that you could just bring out, and cheese it out. Tainted Wisdom. If you change its battle position from attack to defense, or was it from defense to attack, you get to shuffle your deck. I don't know what Konami was thinking sometimes, I swear. Mask of Darkness, okay. Mask of Darkness, nowhere near as good as Magician of Faith because spells were just that much better, but it's also not awful. You can recycle powerful traps. I'm gonna go ahead and put that on C tier, I suppose that's fine. Pumpkin the King of Ghosts, 1800 attacker, 2000 defense, support for zombies, but I mean, if you want zombie support, just wait a couple sets. There's way better zombie cards later. Yado Karu. When you move this thing from attack to defense, you get to return as many cards from your hand to the bottom of your deck in any order. Wow. You have 5 cards in your hand? It's okay, just change the battle position, get rid of your entire hand. Your opponent just wanted to duel. That thing's terrible. Fake Trap, very, very small niche play, but overall just couldn't really make it, to like literally fake out your opponent. Shadow Ghoul, to be fair, this thing could be pretty damn big in some ways. It could rival cards like Summon Skull in very small circumstances. But I'm not going to put this thing beyond the D tier. It saw a little bit of, fun play here and there, but it's fine. Magician of Faith, this is probably S or A. This card was actually banned for several years. It was semi, then limited, and it was banned, and then back, I don't know. I'm actually going to put it here because, my god, like, especially when you recycle this thing with Tsukuyomi and Book of Moon and crap like that, this thing was just downright busted. Thunder Dragon. Thunder Dragon, originally I would probably put it at D if it didn't have the archetype, of course, because I'm not going to put it at E because it did do a little bit. It did some deck thinning, and you could get some lights easily into your graveyard to complement the Twilight decks or Chaos decks that would be coming out a couple sets later in an Invasion of Chaos. But with the archetype and everything, and it saw some more play, I mean, the Thunder Dragon archetype was freaking busted when its, Big Boss Monster was not forbidden. But the Thunder Dragon card, I mean, if you're just listing the card, I'm not going to put this up here. In the end, I could put this solid, but there were obviously much better Thunder Dragon support cards, for the archetype. But I'll put it there, just as a little iconic, push there. Jinzo 7, that's not going to work, of course. It's another direct attacker. 7 Tools of the Bandit, this one's going to be probably lumped together with Magic Jammer. They saw some play, nowhere near as good as like Solemn Judgment and stuff like that, but, it's that's solid for it right there. Cocoon of Evolution, 2000 defense monster. It's a 2000 defender, but it was outclassed by even other cards in Legend of Blue Eyes that had at least some attack. I just can't put this in D. No, I can't. Change of Heart is completely broken. I'm gonna put that into S, of course. It's still forbidden to this day. It's been forbidden for so damn long. Swamp Battle Guard, that's trash. Obviously gonna put that down there. Karibo, yeah. Prevent some battle damage and go -1. Awful, awful hand trap, unfortunately. The Cheerful Coffin lets you get rid of cards from your hand, monster cards from your hand to the graveyard. Yeah, nobody ran this. Feral Imp, same thing, just garbage stats. Blue Wing Crown is a 1600 attacker, so because I did this to Ryukish Empowered, I have to naturally put it here too. It's a 1600 attacker with no tributes. Solemn Judgment, either A or S. I'm gonna go ahead and put A, mainly because, I mean, it was limited for a long time, but never received an amount of forbidden time as, like, you know, Change of Heart or Heavy Storm and stuff like that. So that's why I'll put it there. But it's a very good negate card, very great counter trap, one of the best counter traps of all time. Thousand Dragon, unfortunately, even though it's a secret, what's up with these secret rares being garbage? Oh my god, same thing happened to Legend of Blue Eyes. They're both awful. They're really great to collect, but they're awful. Ancient Brain, Ancient Lizard Warrior, Mirror Force. Mirror Force, oh gosh, I mean, if I'm putting Solemn at A, I'm gonna have to put this in A as well. This card was limited for over 10 years, I want to say, and it was forbidden for a couple formats. It was overall limited though for over 10 years, a long time, all the way up until like past 2011 or so, so very powerful card. Next up is Muka Muka. Muka Muka, I wanted to put it here, but I just can't do it. It starts with 600 attack, gains 300 for every card in your hand. It can occasionally rival like 1800 monsters, but you gotta have a lot of cards in your hand, there's just no way. Tremendous Fire. To be fair, some burn decks in some ways were pretty damn good. This thing did 1000 burn damage to your opponent, pretty solid. 500 to yourself, but 1000 to the opponent. So it wasn't down here like Final Flame and stuff. I'll just put this here. Oh, and I mean that in the last video, not this video. Final Flame and Hinotam and stuff like that. Garnish Elefante is a super rare, but it's a 2400 attacker with 2 tributes required. That's terrible. Paralyzing Potion. I'll put this at D. It did stop monsters, nowhere near as good as removal spells and traps, but hey, if you had this, you gotta just do it, you know, you gotta use it. Unhappy Maiden, didn't see any play here, unfortunately. Stops the battle phase, but Princess of Tsurugi, this thing was, again, it's burned. It can be useful in some situations. It can inflict a decent amount of burn damage, but that's about all I'll say with that. Giltia, I'm gonna put this alongside Deep Sea Shark. It's a level 5, 1850, a little bit less attack than Deep Sea Shark, but it's fine. Shield and Sword gets D as well. It was very specific and situational removal if you didn't have cards like Fissure and stuff like that. Two-Headed Thunder Dragon. This one I'm going to bump up to D. And only because it was actually a lot easier to get this thing out in the field in cards like Black Soul Dragon, Skull Knight, and Thousand Dragon, for sure. I say this because Thunder Dragon was the material, and it was at least really easy to get through 2 Thunder Dragons in your hand if you had only one. Just simply discard 1 Thunder Dragon and then get 2 in your hand. So all you need is 1 Thunder Dragon and 1 Polymerization, and that's it. That's your fusion. That's why I put it here. Not that it saw play, but it was a little bit more viable. Prevent Rat, I will put this at... Actually, I won't, because it has less attack than Legend of Blue Eyes cards. What am I talking about? It's outclassed by Mystical Elves, so seriously. Dragon Piper, no. It destroys Dragon Capture Jar. Unbelievable, but that's... no. Morinfin, heck no. We already know about that. Electric Lizard, it's a very bad effect that your opponent can't attack for 1 turn. Share the Pain, to be fair, is one of the specific ways that you can get rid of stuff. Even cards like, you know, like, remember Towers? That Eclipse Towers? Technically speaking, this card does work on that. Just saying, because your opponent is tributing the monster. But it's a -1, so I can't really put it up there. It's all very niche play. Decision Key, and they're level 5. I'm just going to put that there. How many more do we have? We still got a lot of cards, as you can see. Okay. But yeah, Deep Sea Shark and Guild to the D-Knight are, you know, basically there, so... I'll put that there too. Soul Release, very situational counter card to a couple others, like to counter some decks that utilized the graveyard back then. But other than that, didn't really see too much. Gazelle, the King of Mythical Beasts, 1500 beat stick. Not good. Petite Moth, just terrible, obviously. Bugroth, no. Another 1500. Uguchi, no. Attacks directly with 300 attack. Queen's Double, 350 direct attacker, no. Flame Cerubers is a 1 tribute monster, 2100 attack. I know I put Curse of Dragon up here in B in the last one, but that was Legend of Blue Eyes. We're not putting a 2100 attacker here. There's no way. I'm not doing that. Castle of Dark Illusions. This card has actually less defense than all those 2000 defense monsters, so I can't, you know, reasonably put this higher than E. Kazujin and Suijin are unfortunately not as good as Sanga the Thunder, especially because Sanga's a light, so it at least had some some use with freaking Chaos Text, I guess. Not that that was ever used, but I'm just saying, being a light attribute had a little bit more viability, plus higher stats. Hibikime, 1450 attacker, no. Sagi the Dark Clown, unfortunately not. Crawling Dragon, no. It's a 1600, you know, monster with a tribute. Hoshiningen. This one goes up here. It's one of those stat boosters by 500 points. Mystic Horseman, 1300 attacker, no. Little Chimera, another stat booster. This one's for fire attribute. Rock Ogre Grotto goes here, 800, 1200 I believe is the stats. King of Yamimakai, 2000 attacker with requiring a tribute. Tonyo is a 1350 attacker. Blast Juggler, really weird effect to be honest, and really terrible stats. Insect Soldiers of the Sky, 1000 attacker with also really bad situational effect. Summon Skull is going to go up here. A lot of the early game formats back during Legend of, or well, not Legend of Blue Eyes, the starter deck, Yugi and Kaiba plus Metal Raiders was called Summon Skull Beatdown format, as people called it. Obviously, it was the best one tribute monster in the game for a while. Eventually, there were other cards that came with 2400 attack, but couldn't really rival Listing, you know? Jinzo was a great contender because of its effect, obviously. The Bistro Butcher. I'm gonna put this at D. Even though it's a terrible effect, it's an 1800 attacker, plus it actually, it's funny because it was used in some very specific gimmick decks to like deck out your opponent. I don't know, it was really weird. It honestly was strange, but the effect is mandatory, so your opponent has to draw the 2 cards. So if you can find ways to that your opponent can ram into it infinitely with certain lockdown cards, you could just have them mill out their whole deck. It was funny. Time Wizard. Oh, jeez, where does this even go? I'm gonna have to put this here, I think. I think I'm gonna put it there. Sure, let's just go with that, you know, why not? You know what, fine, let's do D, because God, if you were the luckiest person ever, Time Wizard at least wasn't garbage for you. Let's just say that. Destroy Golem, 1500 attacker. Punished Eagle does deserve higher alongside Impress Judge and Roaring Ocean Snake. These were the 3 2100 attackers that were 6 stars. Pretty damn good. Next up is Mindless Radiant. Mindless Radiant deserves to be in the D because it's one of those stat boosters as well. Just like Little Chimera and stuff like that. This Magician, awful. Harpy Lady. I mean, this Harpy Lady is bad. Eventually the Harpy Lady deck, you know, had some niche play with better Harpy cards. Magic Jammer is going to be up there with 7 Tools of the Band-Aid just because it was a pretty decent counter trap card, not like Solemn Judgment, but it was, you know, it gives you some use. Witch of the Black Forest, this thing is purely amazing, just like Sangan. Even better, a lot of people consider Witch to be better, not just because of the stats, but in many cases, the defense searching is better than the attack searching. Niwatori is a 900 attacker, Trent is a 1500 attacker, 1 tribute monster. Tribute to the Doom deserves a little bit of a higher spot, either C or B. It's a -1, but it can bypass face-up monsters or face-down monsters, either or. It was very flexible for what it did. I'll just go ahead and put it way up here. That might be a little too high, but I think that's fine. I'll just put it there to B. Hunter Spider, 1600 attacker, no, with requiring a tribute. Witch's Apprentice, this one is another one of these stat boosters for the dark attribute. I'm going to place that one right there. Bottom Dweller is a 1651 tribute monster. Battle Dragon, as fun and gimmicky as this was, it was pretty damn bad, let's just be honest. 2600 attack requiring 2 tributes. That required even more luck with the coins to get something good. Yeah, no. Starboy, another stat booster, that one's for water. Stim Pack, believe it or not, was a very good equipped spell card for stat buffs. I'm gonna put this up here. It easily power crept every single equipped spell card in Legend of Blue Eyes. Every single one of them. Because it gave a 700 attack bonus as opposed to 300, and it was for any monster. Like, seriously. The downside was so... not even a downside. After, what, 4 turns it starts to get less attack? The monster should be dead by that point. Gigatech Wolf goes right there, obviously. The Immortal of Thunder, 1500 attacker, terrible effect. That you get 5,000, but then... or sorry, you get 3,000, but then if it's destroyed, you lose 5,000. Ridiculous. Ocubeam, 1550 attacker, requiring 1 tribute. Launcher Spider, 2200 attack, 2500 defense, requiring 2 tributes. Terrible. Blackland Fire Dragon, 1500 attacker. Larviamon, one of the worst cards ever made. Simply wait 2 turns with Petite Moth and a Queen of Evolution to get this 500 attack beat stick. Ridiculous. Winged Dragon Guardian of the Fortress, number 1, 1400 attacker. Robin Goblin, I'll put it up, I guess I could see it as C. I'll put it as C, because I mean, it was technically useful in some of those hand destruction decks, you know? Baby Dragon, no. Killer Needle, another 1200 attacker. Cybersaurus deserves 1 spot higher, being a little bit better than Musician King. It's a 5-star fusion monster. Guardian of the Labyrinth, gonna put that right there. Elegant Egotist. This card actually is better than, you know, the Harpy and Harpy Lady Sisters, because you could basically special summon from your deck. Not that this card is amazing, it's not, but the fact that you can special summon monsters from your deck and there's no downside to it, I'm just saying, even in modern days, special summon from your deck is freaking amazing. Ancient Elf, that goes right there. Crass Clown, I'm going to put you over here alongside Dream Clown because of clown control, of course. Mushroom Man, the resisting is awful. It's a very slow burn, very garbage burn and garbage stats. Jiraigumo is actually better than Dark Elf. Where did I put Dark Elf? Oh, right here. I'm going to put Jiraigumo at C. I know I might be a little high. I know its effect is terrible, but the thing is, this thing, you could make the argument and say this thing is better than Giant Soldier of Stone or any other monster that had 2000 defense to the wall. Just summon it and leave it there. You basically have a 2200 defense wall. Giant Soldier of Stone is only a 2000 defense wall. You know? I'm just saying. I mean, obviously it's an attack mode, I get that. You'll lose life points if a strong monster attacks, but the point still stands. Rabbit Horseman. I'm gonna put this one in C. The reason why is because even though it's a 6-star that was viable with Magical Scientist, it's not 2100. These were the 3 2100 attackers that saw the most, and then Rabbit Horseman as a quick little backup in case you needed it. Not that you need it, because you could run 3 of these cards each and give for a total of 9 copies. But I'm just saying, technically better than these over here, because it was also viable with, you know, an additional card, let's just say. Catapult Turtle. So Catapult Turtle, it's gonna be a little bit higher up here. I'm gonna put this as high as the B tier. It was, of course, actually I'm gonna put it at A tier because Cannon Soldier is there too. Saw a lot of use with Magical Scientists. Eventually got errata, so you know, there's that. But yeah, really solid card. Kaminari Attack. Normally I would put Kaminari Attack here because, you know, it's on par with Deep Sea Shark. But Kaminari Attack actually saw a lot of competitive play. Yes, it did, with Thunder Dragon decks. I'm gonna put it all the way up here. It was literally that useful. It was a Thunder Fusion monster, and thus it was able to, you know, trigger the condition for Thunder Dragon cards, which is pretty damn awesome. Mystic Lamp, another direct attacker. Horn of Heaven was cool, but it was never good. I can't put this anything higher than the D tier, to be honest. It was never that freaking great. Suijin also gets a D. Is this where I put Kazugen? No, I put these in E tier. That's right. I can't put him as high as Song of the Thunder. Sword of Deep-Seated. An equip spell card, but Stim Package is better. Plus, I mean, this card and Horn of the Unicorn are actually bad cards, technically speaking, because you are forced to put them on top of your deck, and you could easily just get stuck with these cards. I'm gonna put this there, although it does save you from milling yourself, you know. I'm just saying, so it can counter mill decks. And then Labyrinth Tank also belongs here because it's you know, too high of a level for Magical Scientist and Instant Fusion. But there we go. So that is all the tiers. A lot of really bad cards once again. I mean, to be fair, Reset's gonna look like this. And then here's D tier, here's C, B, A, and S. So you can see S, A, and B are of course the cards most people of course ran in their decks, with the exception of these fusion cards that was specific to the Magical Scientist, you know, FTK, OTK. But everything else up here was pretty much always used in decks back then, except maybe also Catapult Turtle, because it was a little inconvenient. But yeah, and then sometimes stuff from here and so on and so forth. But that's the overall tier list and how I would rank these cards. Hopefully you'll leave a comment so I can actually see what your perspective on this is. And as always, let me know if you want to see additional videos of this series going into Spell Ruler / Magic Ruler for the next video. So we'll see. So before I end this video, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Thank you everyone. Bye bye. Have a great day.